everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Rapid Results. In case you're wondering who the amazing guest is today, it is Matt Bertram. And for those who don't know who Matt is, he is the head of digital strategy at EWR Digital, a leading digital marketing agency based out of Houston for over 20 years that works with top brands in the traditional and Web3 space. He's the CMO of OGGN, the largest podcast network focused on the oil and gas space, and also hosts two well-received podcasts, Houston Business Podcast, presented by the BBB, and SEO Podcast, The Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing. It's sponsored by Ahrefs and other top platforms with over 4 million downloads, 55,000 monthly loyal listeners, and he's been recognized as the most popular digital marketing podcast on iTunes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Matt. Matt, tell us, what is the biggest, most badass professional accomplishment that you're most proud of?
I think getting paid to talk, right? Getting paid to talk, I think, was something that I've always strived for. Definitely have done a lot of work, but doing consulting, being able to look at businesses, being able to look at campaigns, and just understand what needs to happen, and being able to give somebody that kind of like help or direction is great, right? So a lot of times when you run an agency, you see so many different things and there's so many different moving parts, and you have to switch gears really quickly. And, I'm not always as ready for different meetings. Like, so people can like get on my calendar and, I'll look at their website, I'll look at a few things of what's going on. But typically when I look at the data tells a story and you can see what's happening. And with a few questions with the client, you understand exactly what's going on with their business. It's kind of cool. Also with no.
Oh, looks like we lost Matt temporarily here. Hopefully he's able to come back. Just a moment while we. Oh, here we go. Oh, now we have two Matts here. All right, I'm gonna put them both on board. Oh,
All
he's
right.
back. All right, we're okay. What were you saying?
No, I don't know what happened. I lost you there, but yeah. So getting paid to talk is pretty fun. One of the things that was pretty exciting is I went to Bitcoin Miami not too long ago, and I got to the event and I had paid for a ticket, but I didn't realize that there was like an industry day, and then there was something called a whale day that was like $15K to be part of it. So I got there a day early. I was leaving like the next day. I just was flying into Miami, flying out. And I was like, I got to utilize this day as best I can. And I don't even have access to the conference. And so I started walking around the building. I go, I don't know how I'm going to get in here. Like, can I buy a ticket? What's going on? And then I saw a bunch of people going in the door, and I just followed them in. And everybody's there to volunteer. And they're like, you're here to volunteer? And I was like, yep, sign me up.
I am
and they're
now.
like, oh, you're not signed up? I was like, yeah, no, sign me up. And then they're like, okay, we're going to put you like by the trash bin, back around by the garage, like security. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's kind of hot outside. I was like, do you have anything else? And she was like, what do you want? And I was like, speaker reception. And she was like, oh yeah, we don't actually have anybody in that area. I'll just assign you to it. And I was like, okay. So she assigns me to it. And so at this event, there's this, industry day, right? So everybody in the industry, it's a premium ticket. Then there's something called the whale area, which is like $15K, okay, just for this event to be part of this special area.
Yeah, it's one ticket costs $15K, right?
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And then there was like the VIP reception, and then there was media, right? And so certainly if you're doing podcasts, you can sometimes get into conferences with like media, but you got to apply for that way in advance and all this sort of thing. But so they put me in the speaker reception, and, I guess like a claim to fame, like most recently is, Mr. Wonderful was in there, like just with his like little team. So I got to talk to him for like, not like a ton of time, but more than just like a picture and a hi, like actually got to engage, talk to him. He did a podcast in there. And so what I found out of the person sponsoring that room, that later we connected, and he like hooked me up and took me to a bunch of other stuff. Like, he was like, I didn't have any volunteers in the room. And
Wow.
so I went from like not having a ticket, you know what I mean, to this day, to working the VIP where and I met some people walking through the whale area because I would have to go back and forth through there. And I was helping out a lot of the speakers. And so the event was just phenomenal through, I guess, ingenuity. And I met some great people that I don't think I would have been able to interact with. And so just the ability to talk, and just kind of like being able to think on your feet, I think is something that I'm most, I guess, proud of or impressed with, because it was really a great event. But it could have been like, I could have got there and just held up in a coffee shop and just not done anything and then missed like the whole conference. But I was like, I need to get in here. These are all the industry people that I need to meet, because we do marketing, and, I certainly want to continue to develop our footprint in the Web3 space. And so it was just something that I was like, I want to make this happen. So I think that I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah. And so to tell us real quick the journey of you being a paid speaker. So that's pretty cool. That's what you're most proud of. And of course, it's something that a lot of people want to do. And so tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah. So I didn't speak at this event. I was just working the speaker reception area as a volunteer. But certainly I know a number of the speakers that are in the Bitcoin kind of like speaker circuit. I've done a few paid talks. I wouldn't say that I'm like a paid speaker. But I can tell you that, speaking is not as hard as you think it is if you know what you're talking about, right? If you're trying to do a presentation of slides that you put together, or you're trying to read something, or it's scripted, that's when it's difficult. But if you know the information well and you can communicate it clearly in a conversational way, and speaking, I think, is a lot about energy. Like, it's a transference of energy and getting the crowd involved. And it's about not what you're saying, and I think you've said this in a previous podcast, it's about how you make them feel. It's about the experience that they had for themselves, what they learned for themselves in the course of your talk. And so it's really nice to, even like in big groups, get them to break up into like, talk to the person next to you, or break into a group and share this. And if they can get something out of it for them, they're going to remember it. And if you can engage the crowd, that's what people like, is people like having a memory of what it was for them, not of you talking. And I think, that's something that as you move into speaking, it's really important to feel the room. And if you're talking about something, hey, everybody stand up, everybody clap your hands or whatever, to try to get some energy put into them, I think is a lot of what it's about. And that goes more like when I speak, it's not so much paid speaking, which would certainly be nice, but it's more like selling from the stage, because we offer a lot of different kind of services. So it's, you add some value, and then you're like, hey, if you want more, come to the back of the room and like check it out. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think I've done a lot more of that. Certainly done some paid talks, but that's not where we drive our revenue from. Also, you mentioned a number of podcasts. Now, the OGGN network is fully driven off of sponsorship money. But the other podcasts I do, it's really a support function of a larger business or a larger goal. And so it generates like expertise, trust, authority, all those sort of things. Yeah.
Well, and tell us, and I think people forget about that sometimes, is that being able to sell from stage is sometimes a better skill than just being able to get booked on stage, because that's where the money is made, is not just being paid to speak, but being able to sell to your audience from stage. So if you could talk a little bit about that, if you're okay bragging about, how much have you been able to sell in one presentation, or what percentage of the room were you able to sell? Love to hear more of your experience with that.
Yeah. So that goes along, right? Like when we were talking in the pre-interview, like, written some books out there, you can get them on Amazon or what have you. Build Your Brand Mania, Rise of the Personal Brand. I'm not, people think that you write a book to like make money on the book sales. And if you're going to make money on the book sales, you're writing like a book like every couple of months. Like some of the big authors that are, I mean, I'm Amazon bestseller, but like New York bestseller and international bestseller and all that kind of stuff. Like they're writing a book every couple months because there's a bell curve of like what's happening. I'm really using the books and all the money I make from book sales. I just run as promotional ads as like a self fulfilling offer as far as to drive more awareness. Right. So it's not that I'm trying to sell the book and make money. It's that you're trying to expand or amplify what you're doing as a brand, if that makes sense. And so, selling from stage is absolutely the best. One-to-many podcast is the best, but if you have actual people in front of you in a specific niche, you can speak directly to them. And if you know what their problems are, you can solve their problems. And so, I mean, speaking from stage, we've landed a lot of big companies. I mean, I've worked with some Fortune 500 companies. Like, it's weird too. There's actually this conversation going on LinkedIn that I'm part of, and it's called like dark social. I don't know if you heard about it. It's kind of,
tell us about that.
It's just a bunch of guys that are starting to like try to like, just like HubSpot, for example, coined the phrase inbound marketing, right? They're trying to coin this phrase dark social. And what dark social is basically social like connections or lead or information that's being passed that you can't really track very well, right? So the thing about podcasts, it's not super great, is they don't give you all the information, or not all the platforms give you all the information of who the users are and everything like that. So again, it's like you're using hash data, and you got to kind of figure it out and link it together to different platforms from analytics and stuff like that. And so really some people have coined the term dark social and social media because, we do this podcast. Someone sees it, someone shares it in a chat, then somebody else shares it out in their company email, and then that person posts it on their social media, and then somebody runs an ad over here, and then they mention you in a blog post or whatever, right? Like you can't find that attribution of where that lead came from. And so, I think who it was that said the quote, marketing's great, but I don't know which 50% of it worked, or, I can't remember exactly who said that. That was Ogilvy and Mather. I think it was Ogilvy, but it essentially, as far as like direct sales from stage, it's a lot of like people come to you, and I'm not hard selling. Like, certainly I've been to those conferences where someone's hard selling, like, buy this package and you'll get this deal. It's more of, for me at least, how I've done it. And really your sales process has got to be comfortable to you. It's more of an inquiry capture, right? Like, let's do a discovery. Let's do a call and talk about it. Like, tell me a little bit about your business. Give me some more information on what you're looking to do. And then it's really like a lead capture. And then, we follow up on it. And I haven't tracked it as well, but I'm not going, I have this course, buy this course right now, and I'll give you 50% off or whatever. And then really selling from stage is a lot of, value stacking, right? And it's like, and you get these books, and you get this course, and you get access to me, and you got this mastermind, and you got this one-on-one stuff, and like all this, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 value I'm going to give you for $300 or, whatever. And so, I'm not necessarily doing that. A lot of the stuff that I'm coming in to speak on is marketing specific, right? So I'm giving a talk about maybe something for that niche or that industry that's specific, where I'm talking about SEO or how SEO could work for them. For example, like Podfest, the conversation was more about how to do SEO for podcasts and how to get organic leads from Google for podcasts, right? So it's very specific, but do I have like a course on it that you need to buy? Or am I like, do I have this package that's like SEO for podcasters? Now, there's certainly a lot of other agencies out there that I've seen that are doing that. And they seem to have a package together, and it's pretty premium as far as what they're charging. And I'm, again, like I haven't used any of those services, so I don't know, but but typically I like to talk to people, understand what their needs are, and then you craft a bespoke package for them. And how we do it at our agency is we figure out what you need, and then we scope everything out in a scope of work for hours. And then basically it's hours times our rate. And that's what we charge, right? So here's what we think it's going to take. And then here's how long we think it's going to take. And so then I just multiply it, and then here's your cost. And then we track progress on a weekly basis. And a lot of times people are starting to see value because we're providing a lot of transparency. We're tracking their time. People are liking it. And then from there, they tend to grow their services. And so typically our only standard thing is, it's got to be at least a $10,000 project for us to get engaged, because, I have about 40 people on the team. And so
40 people are on your team, those contractors or employees?
It's a mix, right? Since COVID's happened, we've changed our model. We've gone fully online. So we are hiring people remote. Really, like, English first is pretty important from what I've found from when we're hiring people. But now, yeah, we've hired a lot of contractors, and that's been able to grow. But typically we have a core team of W-2s that are in the States. But previously, right, pre-COVID, it was all W-2s and it was all in Houston. Okay. And so that model is like, okay, we opened up the hiring to the United States, and then we bringing on some Canadians, and then we hired some South Americans. And then now, we've started to go east, and we've started to hire people on a different time zone. And so there's all these challenges with that stuff. But I would tell you that, if you're going to hire, depending on your project, you might need a freelancer, right? Or you might need a augmented staff person that you could go through even a staffing agency where they vet and they give you somebody great. Or you might know somebody in your network, or there's a lot of sites like Upwork and stuff like that you can find people. But some work, like really like managed services, I think is more of a category or a title of like, I want turnkey SEO or paid media, and I really just want you to drive the whole thing and take care of it for me, and I don't want to manage it. And typically you need project managers, account managers, and then a team to do that. And that's more than a freelancer. And freelancers, you typically have to like manage, or you attach them to their company. So based on what you need and what you're doing depends on how you need to hire. And then also there's a lot of nuances of hiring like offshore people. There's certain roles that we hire, only US based people, and we've tried to hire offshore people for different kind of roles, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a constant learning process, but yeah, I don't know what your question was. I'm sorry.
I asked the first question I asked was like, the mix of contractors versus full-time employees, because having 40 people to manage it is pretty cool. But I want to go backwards. Tell us more about the journey and the story of what it takes to how much time and effort, and tell us about the journey and story of like what it takes to build a 7-figure digital marketing agency. I know people love to hear about that.
Yeah. So we're, just to answer your question on the mix, I think we're probably about 50-50 right now. We just brought on 2 more W-2 employees. So it just really, in today's world, it depends on everybody's situation, and it's certainly flexible. We are hiring, by the way. We are hiring. Nice. And we got a lot of podcasts.
Positions are you hiring for?
If you got podcasting people like doing editing or promotion or social media, like super interested if people want some contract work. So we're certainly flexible in that area. But to answer your question, it's hard to start a business. And I came into a business that was already formed. It's been around 20 plus years, and kind of worked my way up to running all the strategy at the company and taking a lead equity role in the company. But what I can tell you is, like, I'm still working like till 4 a.m. some nights. I mean, it's,
wow.
As you grow and you're building processes, when you're moving to more like enterprise level, there's a lot of things when you're smaller, you just can't do the same way. And then you have to really jump or reach in growth to get new clients, to get new people, to get new processes, because if you look at digital agencies, there's a ton of digital agencies that are like, let's say, I don't know, 10 clients, give or take 15 clients, something like that. And then there's a number of companies that are like 100 plus, right? Clients. And those are, they'll be publicly traded, or they'll be, national, multinational companies. If you look at digital agencies, like in between there's almost none. It's just like Death Valley or something. Like you're like literally, because you have to run with the big processes, but you're still a small company, and maybe you don't have the revenue to hire all the people in the different roles. Like I think on one of your previous podcasts, you're talking about the E-Myth, right? Where you map out like all those different hats. And like at the company right now, I still have 4 hats. So I'm running 4 jobs like at the company while still pushing. And that just takes a ton of time. And so a lot of times, my day gets eaten up with meetings, and then the night you have to work on it. Now I try to only work like 1 late night a week. I'm down from 2 late nights, but sometimes, working at an agency, you have deadlines, you got to get it done. But I'm always kind of like, I need to hire more people. But I need to hire the right people. We got to get them on board. We got to get them trained. They got to get integrated with our process. And so, I'm always looking for like good people. And I'm trying to like take those hats off and hire people for all those areas. But also I got to have enough revenue to pay for those people, because when you're running a consulting business, your main cost is like brains. Like it's like brains for hire. And, you have different teams. And so, it's just running a consulting firm is a lot. And so that's why there's a lot of small ones. And then there's, a number of big ones that have all the big processes. And then there's almost nobody in the middle. And so we're like a mid-size agency that like, I'm just like running as fast as I can every quarter to keep growing and getting bigger clients, to hire better people. It's like that video game, or if you've ever played like a video game where you like race around the track, and then you upgrade your tires or your engine or like whatever. That's how I feel, is like every time we get paid revenue wise, like again, like another month or another quarter, it's like, all right, like what can we upgrade? What do we need to change? What needs to happen? What's on the agenda? So right now we do campaigns on a 3-month basis. So right now we're closing out the second quarter, getting ready for the third quarter, and we're doing all the strategy and prep work to say, hey, here's what we're going to do for the next 3 months. Because a lot of, I think, agencies, and again, like I don't know everyone, and my head's down focused on what we're doing, but it seems like, month to month, it's very hard to plan out strategy. And month to month, like it can get stale sometimes if you're offering like a templated service. And so attrition or apathy is like one of the number one reasons why people leave businesses. And so we always go, here's our strategy. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're working on. Here are the deliverables you're going to get. And then they know what they're paying for, right? And then boom, that happens. We look at the data, we make adjustments, and we plan it out. So a lot of our clients are actually like 5-year. We have a couple like pushing on 10-year clients that, wow. Like I'll give you an example. We had a pool cleaning company that we were doing marketing for. They came to us when they were like on the fence of like, is this going to work or not? They only have like 30 pools. Now they're the largest pool company in Houston. They have over like 1,300 pools. Wow. And they've been able to pass the business to their kids. And so now we're doing marketing for the kids, and we're doing some more, advanced stuff too. It's pretty cool. But I had to resell. We had to reconvince the agency we were the right agency of the agency of their parents, right? And so a lot of who I'm working with or connect with our team are typically like generational wealth or, businesses that have been built, and then the kids are taking it over, and they like go, hey, I love how you built the business. You built it off of referrals or print or whatever, or radio. We actually have a company that's spending like $1 million a month in radio. And we're like, hey, like digital marketing is a thing too. And so, we're trying to like, bring them to the kind of up to date with the new strategies and what's going on to revitalize their businesses. And so, yeah, I mean, all I can tell you is building a business like, it's all about like your word and delivering what you say and being accountable, and people can remember that. That's what people like. You got to have that piece of it. If people are going to work with you. Right. And so sometimes it's like whatever it takes to make sure that you're doing that, right? Dropping the ball, responding to emails, all that sort of thing. So I just hired somebody that's been doing a 30-year personal assistant for oil and gas executives, as well as like banks. And she's going to actually help manage my email, right? Because if I'm doing a project or I'm in meetings or I'm traveling or whatever, I don't look at my email, but maybe once a day, maybe twice a day max, unless I'm looking for something. And so, you know, I have to really keep my eye on it to make sure I don't miss anything. And I'm getting a lot of emails. And so I just was like, hey, I need to hire somebody to actually manage all my emails to make sure I'm getting back to people, stuff's getting on the calendar, things are being coordinated. Like, just, you know, I had a marketing assistant, and now she's doing something else at the company. She's kind of like grown to do that. And so now, like, I'm hiring a personal assistant that's going to like manage the calendar. And like, think about it, like mowing your lawn. Like, I love mowing the lawn, but mowing the lawn, I can pay somebody to mow the lawn, and then I can go do some consulting work or go land a client, and it's much more efficient of the time. So right now I'm in the big kind of time efficiency standpoint, because, you know, I'm getting older and I can't work till 4 a.m. and, you know, 2 a.m. and, you know, midnight, like all these nights. And like, I'm trying to like, what is it? Eliminate, automate, delegate, or reposition, right? There's a TED talk on that.
The 4 Ds from David Allen's Get It Done, like do, defer, delegate, drop, are the 4 Ds that he talks about.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, I think that's probably one of the number one things is, as soon as you can start handing off stuff quicker that other people can do, not you. And they're never going to do it at the level that you want to do it. But if they can get it done, like in a decent expectation, start handing that stuff off as soon as you can. That would be my biggest like recommendation, I guess, you know? So.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear more details of the case study with the pools. And before we dive into that, can any quote unquote business utilize digital marketing? And I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So I would divide digital marketing into a couple different categories, right? When you talk about SEO or anything related to SEO on, you know, making your stuff show up higher in, you know, Google or YouTube or anywhere, right? That's about optimizing for the algorithm, for the machine learning, for the search engines, right? Like the SERPs. And SEO is really great at demand harvesting, right? So there's got to be existing demand of people searching for it, so you come up at the top. And so we do a lot of analysis to figure out, is there demand, right? If there's demand, the strategies to capture demand are really like different than demand generation, right?
How do you figure out if there's demand?
Huh?
How do you figure out if there's demand?
There's tools. There's like listening tools that you can use, like Ahrefs or SE ranking or SEMrush, or Google Keyword Planner, or your Search Console or Google Analytics or whatever. Well, actually, Search Console is your data and Google Analytics is your data. So it'd be more like Google Keyword Planner. But Google Keyword Planner only gives you paid keywords. They don't give you organic keywords. So Uber suggests keywords everywhere. I mean, hopefully one of these like ring a bell, right? But basically, a keyword research tool is what you need to find out. So like for podcasts, you know, SEO podcasts, best SEO podcasts, like there's a lot of search volume for that, or there's a decent amount. And, you know, we're doing SEO optimized strategies on our website for our podcast to target those, right? And for each other podcast, it'll be a little bit different, but then you can utilize blogs and on-page optimization to start ranking for the things or the topics you want to rank for. But again, there's got to be search volume, right? And if people aren't searching for it, you have a whole different problem. You're not trying to harvest and get in front of the demand that's already there. You're trying to get people to raise their hand and you're trying to generate that demand, right? And so to generate that demand, typically, you're going to need to run ads, or you can leverage the organic platforms. Now, you know, it's shifted a little bit. So that's the live, that's the reels, right? Like, so you're capturing that organic traffic, like a post on Facebook doesn't do anything. But you post in the reels, that's where you're going to get the visibility. And so it's all about what the platforms want to promote, right? Like when they wanted to promote Facebook Live, like they'll show it to everybody based on the algorithm. And now they're like, no, we don't care. And then LinkedIn right now is like, hey, like LinkedIn Live, we'll show it to a ton of people. And they're giving your post organically a lot of views because they're trying to get to a certain threshold of users. So social works great, but it's got to be the right platform, right? So like TikTok, you can get a ton of views on TikTok right now, but is that the demographic you're targeting, right? So there's a lot of strategy considerations to figure out the media channel, but also on media buys. Like I'll give you an example. You can run ads on Reddit, like to the subgroups, right?
Oh, interesting.
Like, right. You can run ads on Pinterest for like a construction company. I mean, because what do people look on Pinterest? Mostly one of their biggest segments is people looking at remodels of kitchens and bathrooms to get ideas. And then you're a contractor and like popping up right there in a geographic area to the target demographic, right? Like brilliant, right? And so there's a lot of different ways to use these platforms to design these strategies to reach those people. But you're essentially trying to get people to raise their hand. And then you're trying to drive them to a funnel where you capture their information in some way. You retarget them. You hit them with the email or text or ringless drop or whatever. And then you get them to your site and you get them to sign up for some kind of like consultation, or you just maybe get them to buy whatever it is. But like e-commerce is different than services. I mean, again, everything's very, very nuanced of what you're trying to do. And that's what we do a lot for the podcast, right? Like bestseopodcast.com. If you go there, you know, you can see some of our episodes. We're starting to do some like trainings and masterminds and all that. But like the number one thing that people do is they're like, hey, I want to talk to you about my business. And so we have paid consulting sessions where you can buy an hour of my time. And then basically I jump on and we'll use all these tools and all the knowledge I have. And I'll really quickly look at everything and tell you what I think and what you should do. And here's what maybe your competitors are doing, or like whatever, answering your questions. And then what typically happens from that is either they can go off and do it, or they have somebody, or it's a second opinion for what they're currently doing. Or they'll be like, hey, I'm interested in hiring you. And then I'll flip them over to the agency. So our podcast has always been for the last like 10 years, really a lead gen model. We've just recently started to accept sponsorships. And then that's allowed us to hire more staff to then do more things to like do a better job, right? Because it's all comes down to, I think, really time management, like everything, or you can't manage time, right? Do you have some good quote on that, Andrew, on time management? Because you can't manage time, but like time management.
I just got done this year or end of last year reading The Big Leap by Gary Hendricks. I'm not sure if you've read that book yet, but I highly recommend it. And you know, one of the things that I've learned is that you can always create time. You know, when people say they don't have time, that means that they're not allocating the time that they need to get the job done. You know, a classic example is like, you know, you might be working away, but then all of a sudden, if you know, the ceiling falls in your arm and it's broken, you're like, well, crap, I have to stop working. I have to go to the hospital. And like, so you can always create time. And so that's what I've learned. But of course, you also want to make sure you're using time effectively and efficiently. And I know there's a million time productivity courses, but I know at the center of it is just like understanding that you are in control of your time in some shape or form.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. I mean, that's certainly, if you like, as you get older, I feel like, and you get more responsibilities and stuff, like you just have less and less time, right? So when you're younger, you don't have maybe like the financial wherewithal, but you have all this time. And if you use that time effectively, you can transference that to like revenue or financial security. But like once you start like securing a lot of that, then you don't have any time. And so then it's like, how do I get that time back? Like, so now it's like, how do I buy that or trade that time back? So it seems to be like this endless loop.
There is another great guy, Ari Meisel. He's able to run a 7-figure business working 1 hour a week with 3 kids. And he has, I forget which disease he has, but he basically had to master the art of productivity and time management because he had a disease that required like 6 hours of attention per day. He had a family to raise, a business to run. And he figured out how to automate everything so perfectly where he can run a 7-figure business working 1 hour a week. So the answer is I know it's possible, but I also know, like you said, like that's how life works, is that when you're young, you don't have money, you have to sacrifice time for money. And then once you're older, you have more money, you have to sacrifice money for time, essentially. So I know it is a kind of a yin and yang in a way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I know I
Oh,
go off
yes.
on tangents.
So
I
yeah,
apologize.
no, that's good. No, that's good. Yeah, it's a good topic. So I'd love to hear. Yeah, thanks again for talking about talking about posting on Reddit, being the go-to person on that. Talking about Pinterest, like if people are talking about remodeling a house, like, oh my gosh, there's a local contractor in your area who can help you get this exact remodel. Like that's brilliant. Tell us more about the case study of scaling that pool company from 30 pools to 1,300 pools. I'd love to hear more of what went behind that, and I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, no, sure. If you go to EWRdigital.com and then like about us, we have a ton of testimonials and case studies that we put on the site. I believe, I'm not sure if that specific one is on there because we've used them to apply for different like applications for like AMA and stuff like that. And this is more of kind of over the course of like the last 8 years, what we've done for them. But a lot of it goes back to our methodology of you start with a good website that is good at converting traffic. And then you build up a base of organic search of people seeking out your product and finding you for long tail key phrases and core words. And then you add on remarketing. Then you add on paid media. And then maybe you start doing some PR or email drips, and you automate the sales process. Like it's just kind of a fundamental process that almost all businesses go in. And typically you try to catch the low hanging fruit first, and then you layer on stuff. So a lot of their clients come to us and they start spilling in X. And then by the end of it, they're, in a year or whatever, they're spending Y or Z or whatever. And it's pretty fundamental. Now, here's what I can tell you to kind of bring it back to podcasting. There is a testimonial on there where we had somebody come to us with a very low budget. We're talking like under $5,000. Okay. They had under $5,000 and it was a supplement company, and they wanted to like launch the supplement brand, right? They had a couple other supplements, but they want to launch this supplement brand. And they came to us and they said, hey, you've been a great digital marketing agency for us. We want to launch this new product, but we don't really have any kind of money to like kickstart it. So we have a really low budget. What do you think we should do? Right. So we did a strategy session, and out of the strategy session, we decided that we think you need to get on a bunch of podcasts, like top 100 podcasts, and just talk about your product, because it's very novel. It's very unique.
Yeah.
And I think people could relate to it. And so we got on, it was healthcare, right? It's healthcare. So we got him on Dr. Gundry. And I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Gundry, but we got him on Dr. Gundry, who's like a Dr. Oz or whatever. He's like he's like very much up there. And we got him on his podcast, and we got him on like a big testosterone podcast as well, which it wasn't testosterone, but it was health and like men's health. And it was like a longevity type product. And he's actually now starting a podcast that we're helping him with called Live Beyond the Norms. Like we're helping him launch it, but because he's just sold on the model of podcasting. But we got him on like podcast pitching, got him on a bunch of different podcasts, and $50,000 in revenue, like out of the gate. Okay.
Wow.
And that was off of like getting him on like 4 or 5 different podcasts. And then, we set up affiliate codes and everything. So you could see like, I think it was if you look on our site, I think it's a 73x ROI. So
wow.
What is it? What is Grant Cardone is, 9x or 10x or whatever, like podcasting 73x, like ROI.
Jeez.
And so, I mean, like, I just get to, I get the privilege of working on all these different campaigns to get to see all these different kind of things and seeing what's working. And that's really kind of how the conversation led to OGGN, Oil and Gas Global Network, where I became the CMO of that. Is we just had a lot of experience with podcasts. We're in Houston, oil and gas big in Houston. And I knew one of the founders, and we had known each other for like 6 years. And socially, but we never talked shop. And at one point he called me and he was like, hey, I think you do this stuff and I need help with a client of mine. Can you help me do all this kind of stuff? And I was like, whoa, wait, like I do all that stuff. You know, you're looking for, you're looking for a vendor to deliver services. And I was like, we can do all that. That's all in our wheelhouse. I'm not even stretching. That's all of what we do. And he goes, oh, well, I have a couple more deals like that. And then he's like, here you go, here you go, here you go. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. And I said, you know, looking at your podcast, I think we can help you grow that. Right. And so basically it became this very synergistic relationship where we're helping them grow the podcast. And then referral business is coming to us from the consulting and digital marketing standpoint. And yeah, I mean, it's been really a great partnership. And then, you know, it's put me with PodFest and the experiences through that with a business that's driven all by sponsorships. Like we were talking in pre-interviews, like Amazon Web Services, HP, NOV, you know, United Airlines. I mean, there's just a ton of IBM. I mean, there are a ton of big sponsors that are trying to reach the oil and gas community. And that's the thing about podcasting I think so impressive is it's a new form of medium that reaches people where you can explain long form concepts, right? I mean, Joe Rogan is more popular than like all the news channels, right?
Combined.
So, combined. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I know you talked about him in the past. I mean, but it's the new medium, right? It's the new medium. People like consuming that content. A lot of times we have people that binge watch or binge listen to our podcasts and they just love the information and they feel like they get to know you. And I don't know. I think it's great. And I think big brands are now getting with it on this is another media channel that we need to be optimizing for and going after. And I think it can be huge, you know? And so I've certainly seen that as well. So I've seen like have your own podcast, helped launch one for the Better Business Bureau during COVID when they were trying to get like testimonials and to kind of engage their customers. And that was a good lead gen opportunity for me as well. Cause got to know some really good local brands and, hey, like, I think we can help you with some marketing. Here's some things that I think you can do. And if you want to talk more, give me a call. Right. And that's kind of our sales. Like, I'm not hard selling anything. It's just like, hey, here's some value. And if they want more value, they'll come back. Right. And then, yeah, the OGGN podcast thing has been pretty cool to be part of. That's pretty recent. So I've been doing that for about 3 months and it's been a ride, but that's another job, right? Add another hat to the email. So it's been pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I think people it goes back to, you know, money isn't always sexy. And, you know, here you are talking about, yeah, we do a oil and gas network and we have these sponsors who are putting in thousands of dollars. Can you talk more about, you know, what does it mean to talk to an oil and gas audience? Like how do you even, what does that mean essentially?
Well, so yeah, like basically there's a different podcast for every segment. So there's like 14 different podcasts. So if you want to talk to onshore, there's an onshore podcast. If you want to talk about oil and gas tech, there's a tech podcast. You know, then there's a ton of them, right? Like, so there's a HSC podcast. And so really it's segmenting down the focus of discussion in a particular area. And what I've found that it's more of as well is it's more of like community, building community, right? So you're interviewing different people that are all kind of like oil and gas is like good old boys for the most part. I mean, it certainly has changed, but a lot of it's very closed. And so you're interviewing people that you know, and you're interviewing people in the industry. And there's a lot of times on these interviews, you're going to maybe know somebody, right? And so then it becomes relevant to what you're doing in this conversation. Well, advertisers go, I want that person to hear what I'm saying, or that type of person to hear what I'm saying. So it's essentially another way of just for oil and gas. And certainly I think podcasting is very fragmented. So over time, though, I think you'll have different channels and things will be segmented out. But it's like targeting job titles on LinkedIn. Like you can run an ad on LinkedIn and target all the people of HSC job titles, right? Now you can't do that on Facebook as much, but you can do that on job titles on LinkedIn. Well, you know that this podcast, if you're selling some widget or some service to HSC professionals, you know, to be on that podcast, whether you're a sponsor where they read it in or they interview on that podcast, or they even have an option of a pitch podcast where they take a sales presentation and, you know, make it into like a really high-end commercial engaging storytelling. You're going to reach that community in a way that you're going to build trust and you're going to build engagement, and they're going to view you as a safe company because you're part of the community. Does that make sense? And so it's very, very, very niche. So it's inside oil and gas. There's probably other people that are like, hey, we have an oil and gas podcast, or we have an oil and gas and manufacturing podcast. This is like, we have that, and they started with that, and like oil and gas news or whatever. But now it's like each segmented area, because you got oil and gas, you got upstream, midstream, downstream. You got landmen, you got geoscientists, you got Bitcoin mining. That's where I'm interested in. Okay, to bring it back to something I'm interested in. Like, but Web3 and Bitcoin mining, that was actually where like one of the big sparks came from. And so we're going to build a whole segment around ESG, which is carbon credits and offsetting carbon credits in the oil and gas industry. And I'm working with some companies that are doing that. And then Bitcoin mining, right? Trapped gas wells. So gas is really expensive. Running pipes are really expensive. Hey, we have a bunch of gas that we're flaring and we're just wasting it. Well, that could run a steam turbine that could power a Bitcoin miner that could actually turn that power, that trapped gas, into money. And so I have a buddy of mine that like, they wanted me to be the host. And I was like, no, I'm not the right person for that podcast, but I know somebody. And so we got that interview set up. So we'll be launching that in like a month or so, but we're going to build out a segment that oil and gas focused, but also touching crypto. And so really the core is oil and gas, but then we segment it out. It's all about a focused audience in a niche is what it's about. And you don't need a ton of people. All the different kind of build your community. What is it? Who are the names I'm thinking about? There's some really great books out there that I've read. I'm trying to think of who it is. I can look in my Audible or whatever. I haven't had time to listen to a lot of books recently, but what I'll tell you is it's all about growing that community, but growing those raving fans, right? And and you only need 1,000 is I think a lot of what I've heard is 1,000 raving fans. You can grow a 7-figure business, no problem. And it's all about understanding who your customers are and speaking to your customers, and even like email automation. I'll tell you, people go, how often should we email? And I said, well, how close do you want to be with your customers? Like, you know, you and I, Andrew, like, hey, we like know each other and we'll comment on Facebook stuff, but we're not talking monthly. We're not talking weekly, but we're not talking daily either. But if we were doing those things, how much closer would we be? How much more business will we refer? How much more would we do those things, right? We're maybe in this kind of like know each other, colleagues, acquaintances category of like maybe quarterly or whatever. So
I know people sometimes get overwhelmed with daily emails, but is the counter to that, well, then that's not your audience if they can't handle daily emails?
Well, if you're saying something of value and you have a relationship with that person, they're going to want your emails. Now, if it's not segmented right and you're talking about content that's not helpful, it starts to go on the bell curve towards spam. So the reality is, I mean, anybody that started the podcast, that's grown it or whatever, they usually respond to every single person and they like every single person's stuff. And they know those people. They know the people that are listening, and they've invested time in getting to know them and building their community first before they expand. And then other people start to bring it in. But yeah, if you're sending an email daily, it's okay. Like there's emails that you're probably getting daily from people that if whether you're doing business with them or family or whatever, that those emails are welcome, right? Well, there's also people that are calling you daily that maybe you want to talk to weekly, like that might be too much, or people that are calling you weekly that might, like I have a couple of vendors that are like always asking me for more business. And I'm like, I know you're there. And like, yes, like once a month, like, hey, do you have anything for me? But you don't need to hit me up weekly, and you don't need to get on my calendar, and you don't need to like try to sell me stuff. Like, I know you're there. I know what you do, and I don't have a fit. And if you're telling me the same thing, like it's not helpful. So it's all about that communication channel of what's the right fit and how close are you going to be. And if you're not willing to write those emails every day and engage with those people and follow up with everything, then you might not want to be doing like daily emails, right? Or whatever. You got to figure out what's the right fit for you and what's the right fit with your audience. I mean, we've found with our clients, right? So I do a internal podcast or a video newsletter monthly. And I found that that's to be right is I do a video, and then I have account managers that talk to clients weekly. And I've found that to be the right fit and then they're talking, they have a set meeting once a week, but they talk more often than that. Right. But we're gauging it per person, on what they need for their business. And certainly early on, it might be more, and then it might be less later on when we kind of have it figured out, but you have to gauge that. And so that's the big thing about emails is it's not too many. It's who's your audience, how segmented is it, and is it the right information? Because if it's not the right information or it's not segmented, it kind of starts to move towards that like unwanted category. Yeah. And so you got to work on that sweet spot of looking at open rates, looking at topics, looking at responses, click-throughs to decide what is right. But again, I think you just start with building a network or building a core team or a core group or a core community that you're part of. And so I think it's better personally to join different communities, because then you're not on the emphasis of driving everything, right? And so, but if you have the time and effort to create your own community, you should do that. But we're at the point that I need to hire like moderators, and if we do a Facebook group, like you got to have people like engaged in there, or it's not valuable. I've actually seen in some masterminds and different things, there's an automated setup for the first whatever of people get all these kind of messages. And so sometimes you have to do that. You have to go, okay, what is the perfect experience that I'd like everybody to have? And I don't have the time to do it. So I'm going to spend the time to create the automation to engage them in this way, because we know 80% of the time they might act similar, right? If you're targeting the same audience. And so again, all those analytics, all that strategy, that's a lot of what I'm doing every day is building that out for clients. And then I have a team of experts in different areas that are executing that stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And another question kind of comes to mind is it a cheat code to make a podcast tailored towards the oil and gas industry? Because obviously they have a lot of money, like, what's stopping people from making podcasts about the diamond industry or about, I guess, cyber security industry or like the top money-making industries, or is there a podcast dedicated talking to Apple users or something like that? I'm curious your thoughts about that.
So one of the guys of one of the crypto companies that I'm working with, like I've actually invested in his like private placement. Like we haven't done marketing for him yet, but we've been talking. He was a speaker at an event that I went to. Really like him. He was telling me he built before podcast, a magazine. Like you remember Nintendo had all the cheat codes in the Nintendo of like how to get through that. That thing was so popular for most people, and everybody was like waiting for that. And that was kind of, I think the community back then is, getting in there, and, then now you got online, all that. But what this guy did is for Windows. So my mom actually was like one of the first employees of Microsoft. So I kind of saw the tech stuff
cool.
happen.
Nice.
Yeah, I know, it's really cool. And I was playing games. I was the first, like everybody's playing football outside, on the street. And I'm playing like dial-up modem, engaging games in beta with some of my mom's coworkers, like we were doing the first kind of internet internet gaming, online gaming. But what I would say is that, man, I totally lost what you're asking me. But yeah, so the community. So this guy, yeah. So this guy on the community, he developed the Windows like 95 weekly booklet or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but I think he sold it for like $100 million. Okay.
Wait, what?
Wait,
back up. Wait, what?
Okay. Like, I actually don't know. Like, but I remember in conversation with him, he built up this magazine that was like a weekly magazine, which was just kind of like a weekly podcast or a weekly newsletter or whatever, but it was for the Windows space. It was like a Windows support thing. And I think Windows either bought it from him or something like that, but he made a ton of money. I don't know exactly, but it was like, I don't know if it went public or I don't remember the whole story. I need to ask him, but the answer is yes. Like, and I know a guy that I ran into a guy that's doing solar and he's big into solar. And I was like, oh yeah, I was on a solar podcast like a while back. And he named the guy that I was on the podcast with. And then the guy that had the podcast reached out to me and was like, how do you know so-and-so? You know, because it's a community, right? Like, and so you're a podcaster for a community, you become that fixture. So these guys are at a lot of the oil and gas events. They get paid to be at them. They do a lot of live stuff and interviews and conferences and all that. And so they're like part of the fixture of the community. And there's a couple other ones out there too that actually spun off of the OGGN network. But yeah, I think so. That's for solar. I bet there's ones for diamonds. Like, if you can figure out, if you have information to add in a particular segment, just like healthcare, like, I mean, there's a ton of
healthcare.
But I think, but I don't think you start one unless you really have some value to add to the national conversation. That's the thing also with blogs. Here's a big pro tip. Basically, when you write a blog, you look at the first 2 pages of Google and you figure out what is not being said that you believe needs to be added to the national conversation. And you write a blog about that, either adding to something that somebody said, and then you reference it with anchor text links and backlinks and whatever, or you go the opposite and you say, actually, a lot of people are talking about blank, blank, blank. I actually think it's completely different than that. I think it's blank, blank, blank. That's how you're going to rank in Google. Adding to the national conversation. Google's trying to index all information in the world and it's trying to organize it. And so, you know, if you're saying something that's different than what other people are saying, that you're adding to that national conversation, and that information's good, and it's in a format that Google can understand, it's going to certainly put you up there because that's adding value to the database of information. I mean, we're almost cyborgs right now with all the wearables and everything. You know, using your phone. I mean, this is a appendage, like, right? Like, it is like, you can't do anything. I mean, I ask it how to spell sometimes, you know, I mean, it's like, and it's funny, Elon Musk, you know, I've watched some of his stuff and he's like, actually our inputs to accessing the supercomputer or hive brain has gone down from the keyboard to the thumbs. And so that's why he's saying like the whatever the chip, you know, the you know, I don't know, Neuralink or whatever it's called is going to speed up just that access point. But if you think about this, you know, information that you had on the phone, that's part of your ability and your knowledge base, right? So we're contributing to that by creating this content in this way, and the machine learning and AI is going to learn that. You know, it's studying it now, or it's like aware.
Oh yeah, there's rumors of that. But
yeah,
people are saying it's just a rumor, but we'll see. I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're getting close. We're getting close. I think in the next couple of years, AI technology continues to get better and better. But yeah, so.
Well, yeah, and I know we have a couple minutes left here, so I'll make sure we're out of here in time. So I guess the last couple questions we have for you is, if people were listening to this whole interview, what's the one takeaway you want them to have?
Like, your time is your most precious commodity.
Yeah. Tell us more about that.
I think, you know, kind of throughout this podcast, we were kind of lining out some of those things, but I think, if you have time, you know, figure out, like, you're going to figure out how to get more wealth or whatever. And if you have more wealth, you're trying to figure out how to get more time. And so I would just say, like, enjoy the journey, but understand that you only have so much time and you just never know. You know, a lot of people in their life can probably relate to relationships they've had, and they whether it's, you know, a death to like a relationship that you value, like you never know where that's going to go, right? So you never know where that's going to go, and you never know how much time you personally have. You never know with health what's going to happen. There's a girl, an influencer. I went to school with her. You know, good friend. She was doing great. She was building a great business. She was super healthy. Like, you know, like she had a great family. You know, I was following her on social media, and you know, like, you know, saw her at events, and like she was doing big things, right? She was doing big things, and you know, you're like, she's gonna live forever, and she's gonna be healthy, and she's got 3 kids, and you know, like great husband, and like great life, and like everything, right? Like she was doing awesome. Car accident, died.
Oh my gosh.
Like, so, yeah, right? Like, and you're like, she's gone, and like all her friends are like, she's gone, and wait, you know, so I went to a small private school, and so, you know, like everybody knows everybody like really well and stays together, and boom, like gone, right? And then one of the guys on my team actually just had a brain surgery, so you know, he's fine, he's okay. I heard from him actually today, but you know, he went in for a jaw abscess or something with a tooth. They did an MRI, and then boom, he had a melanoma brain tumor that they had to go do brain surgery. And he actually pushed it out a month to like get like his affairs in order, because you just never know. And he's young. And so I just, you know, health's important. Time's important. Don't sacrifice all your time to work to think that you're going to have this golden retirement, because you never know. So it's about the journey. And if you have the time, enjoy the time, or do productive things, but your time is incredibly valuable. And, you know, a lot of things that I wish I would have built a better process sooner, because I'm doing things I don't need to be doing now. And I wish I could be doing other things. And always the things that I'm doing now, once I hand those off, I always fill it up with something else new. And usually it's more exciting or whatever, or more impactful or what have you. But if you don't have that, like, you don't have that time, you don't know. So the further you can do that, the faster you'll move along, and certainly enjoy the journey along the way. Yeah. No,
such great advice, Matt. Thank you so much. As you wrap up here, what are the best ways people can contact you, get a hold of you, learn from you? Let us know the best ways to get in touch.
Yeah, no, I've been doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn right now, Matt Bertram Live. So also, if you don't have your own handle, go buy your own handle. Like, that's really important. I just recently bought MatthewBertram.com. I wanted to buy Matt Bertram, but I bought MatthewBertram.com because somebody else had that. I need to build that out. So that'll be a great way by the time someone listens to this podcast to find me. But really, Matt Bertram Live on LinkedIn, you can find me there. That's a great place. Or Best SEO Podcast gives you the syndication out to everything there. And then our agency, EWRDigital.com. And you can, you know, contact us or request a discovery call there. But really, like, I think you got to pick the platforms and stay on the platforms. And I think probably LinkedIn is the best platform. I got to get through all the, you know, it might take some time, you know, to get through all the stuff, but I'll typically spend some time on that. And that might be one of the best forums to find me. Yep.
Perfect. Well, this has been awesome, Matt. Thank you so much. This concludes another episode of Rapid Results, everyone, and we'll see you all next week. Cheers, y'all.